Hello and welcome along to our 12-hour deadline day stream. It's going to be an action-packed one as I'm joined by close to 30 guests throughout the next 12 hours to keep you all right up to date with all of the Tottenham transfer news in incomings and outgoings and a few other moves around the Premier League that do indirectly in some ways affect Tottenham Hotspur. But I'm absolutely delighted to be here for the day with all of you. Like I said, so many guests joining us throughout the day, and we will have a guest host as well for an hour just to give myself a little bit of a break. But we do have already over 150 people tuning in, and we do already have a bit of news from this morning to get through. But before we do get into that, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button if you do want to get involved with the chat and to become a loyal fan of this channel. It will be massively appreciated. But look, let's quickly dive into the news that we have already. And the first bit we got was very early on this morning from Fabrizio Romano rather, at about 3:30, and he confirmed Emerson Royal from Barcelona to Tottenham, done deal, and here we go. And that is the big news for Tottenham so far, that this Emerson deal looks done. He has completed his medicals in Barcelona this morning ahead of this €30 million move to Tottenham. Romano said €30 million add-ons included from Spurs. Paperwork was completed during the night. Official announcement today after the medicals, contract until June 2026. So it is a 5-year deal that Emerson Royal is signing for Spurs. There have been a few updates on that throughout the day as well. At 9:30 this morning, Sky Sports said Emerson Royal is having his medical in Barcelona ahead of this move to Tottenham. And it was only 5 minutes later, actually, Fabrizio Romano said that Royal has completed his Tottenham medical. Paperwork will be signed in the next few minutes, so that is believed to be done already. Final details and announcement pending. Another little update we got then, again a few minutes later after that, Matteo Moretto of Calcio Mercato said that Emerson Royal is expected in London soon to complete his €30 million move from Barcelona to Tottenham. Moretto breaks down the add-ons on that one and says it is an initial €25 million fee with €5 million in add-ons to be paid by Spurs, and that is an important deal for Spurs at the moment. Now, what that could potentially mean for departures in the shape of Serge Aurier and Matt Doherty. At the moment, it looks as though this incoming could be a little bit irrelevant in all that. A super chat there from Darkson G. Thank you very much for the 5,001. Says, how do you feel for signing a right back? I didn't expect it. I hope we can sign either Adama or Neves. Then I feel we can really fight for top four. I'm delighted to see us bring in a right back because I think it's just absolutely necessary. As much as Aurier and Doherty have been good players for us at certain times and at very different times, they're just not they're not the right options, and I feel like a lot of Spurs fans would agree on that. On Japhet Tanganga, he's a very good right back and he started this season extremely well, but he just doesn't offer enough for us going forward on the front foot, I think. And Spurs at the moment just feel very one-dimensional, and I feel like a different option in Emerson Royal in that right back role, an extremely attacking player who was so good for Real Betis last season. It's really important for us to get that one in. I didn't expect it unless we sold Serge Aurier, and there is an update in that in the last couple of hours that I will get to in a second. On the point of Adama or Neves, I will be absolutely shocked if either of those players do end up joining Tottenham this deadline day. I think the two of those are off, unfortunately for different reasons, but the one that we are focusing on at the moment is Emerson because it is a done deal. Now, what that means for Serge Aurier, like I said, at the moment seems to be a little bit irrelevant in all of this. Dan Kilpatrick was the first to mention Serge Aurier this morning at about 9:30, and he said Tottenham are also trying to move on Serge Aurier and Tanguy Ndombele before the deadline. An update since then suggests that actually both of those players will be staying at Tottenham today, and Jack Pipbrook has said Serge Aurier is now expected to stay at Tottenham as no new move was found for him, and Matt Doherty is also expected to stay. So as it stands at the moment, with Tanganga, Aurier, Doherty and Emerson on one side, then with Reguilon, Davis and Sessegnon on the other side, Tottenham have 7 first-team fullbacks, which is way more than you'd ever expect a team to have, and truthfully way more than we'd want to have. And as Alistair Gold was pointing out this morning, that means that there's one non-locally trained, so one non-homegrown player essentially, that will be in our first team that will miss out on the European Conference League squad, which isn't great. You know, we're going to be missing a player in there, but you'd have to imagine it will be one of those right backs, probably one of Matt Doherty or Serge Aurier, but we'll have to wait and see how that one does pan out. But Emerson, here we go, done deal, €30 million, a very, very good signing for Spurs. Another right back that we were actually looking at in Takahiro Tomiyasu now looks set to join Arsenal. Fabrizio Romano was given the here we go on that one, a deal worth about €22 million, which is a lot higher than what Spurs had ever really been bidding for the player. So it looks as though, despite the fact that we were told all throughout the Olympics that Tottenham would officially announce a deal for Tomiyasu after the Olympics, it looks as though all along Tottenham had just been priced out and were unwilling to pay the fee that Bologna were asking for the right back. But Arsenal, bottom of the table, top spenders in Europe, spending again. And this is one that I can honestly look at and say I think is a very good signing for them. I said it all the time when he was potentially going to be a Spurs player. I'm not going to turn around and say, well, that wasn't true, because he's now joining Arsenal. He's a good player. He's versatile. He can be a bit of a utility player at the back, but still having a lot of quality. So I do think that is a good signing for Arsenal. But I trust Paratici and I trust Nuno Espirito Santo in going for Emerson Royale instead, for what is a higher fee, but a better player as well. So I'm happy with Emerson over Tomiyasu, but I would be lying if I said I'm happy Arsenal are spending money on Tomiyasu, because I do think he is a good signing for them. Just a few more updates this morning. I tweeted out last night. I have been told reliably in the last maybe 16 or so hours at this stage that Tottenham are hoping to, or are expected to, make a move for an unnamed midfielder today, as well as trying to finalise that move for Emerson Royale. Now, since then, a lot of names have been mentioned, and the biggest one is Ruben Neves. And I see people asking me here in the chat again, and people asking me on Twitter over the last 16 to 18 hours, is that midfielder Ruben Neves? Truthfully, I don't know. When I say it's an unnamed midfielder, that's not just because I can't post the name of him, I can't publish the name. It's because the information I got did not contain a name, and it said an unnamed midfielder. From a personal point of view, Ruben Neves will not be a Tottenham player by the end of today. I'd be absolutely shocked if that is the case, and I'd extend the same onto Adama Traore, as I said to Dark Sun G earlier. And we've had an update from Tim Spears, who's the Wolves correspondent for The Athletic this morning, and he said, as things stand, I'm not anticipating the departure of Ruben Neves or Adama Traore today. Huge bid may change that, but nothing active at the moment. Now, I do have a name right now that could potentially be this midfielder Tottenham are looking at, but I haven't vetted that, or I'm not entirely sure on how accurate that is just yet, so I'm trying to follow up on that, and I will let you know at any point if I can confirm that information. But right now, there's no confirmation on who that midfielder is, but I personally do not believe it is Ruben Neves, and I do not believe it is Adama Traore. But just continuing on Adama Traore, we've got David Ornstein at 9:20 this morning said Adama Traore is not expected to leave Wolves today. It would take a bid of around £50 million to tempt Wolves to sell, and as expected, his price has gone up in the last couple of days, in the last week or so, as we near closer and closer to that transfer deadline. About 10 hours and 50 minutes left now until the window slams shut, and Wolves, rightfully so, will be demanding a higher price, because if they are going to let Adama Traore go, they need to get in a replacement. I know they've brought in Hwang Hee-chan on loan from RB Leipzig, but I feel like he's just an addition to what they already have. And you're looking as well at that long-term injury for Pedro Neto. Hwang Hee-chan is on a loan. Maybe they've brought him in to replace what they will be missing from the Portuguese winger this season. So Adama Traore going, Wolves need a replacement. There's not really much time to actually get something done there, so they will want a massive fee in order to be tempted to let him go. That came from David Ornstein, and Sky Sports did say something very similar as well, which I actually don't think I noted, but I think it was Anton Taloui said it will be about £50 million in order to convince Wolves to let Traore go today. That one seems dead in the water, and that one seems that it will not be happening this transfer window. Onto another player that we, I suppose, thought would be leaving Tottenham, a player that we have heard has handed in a transfer request and wants to go, and that is Tanguy Ndombele. We have a few different lines in that this morning. Dan Kilpatrick, like I said earlier, at 9:36 a.m. this morning, said that Tottenham are trying to move on Serge Aurier and Tanguy Ndombele this deadline day. It actually looks as though this Ndombele situation may have been rumbling on for a lot longer than we've really known, because some people have said in the last couple of days that Tottenham have actually been trying to move Ndombele on for the entire summer so far, that they've really been actively looking for other clubs. The only bid that we know of came in from Bayern Munich when they offered €20 million plus midfielder Corentin Tolisso, which Tottenham immediately rejected despite having a pre-existing interest in the French midfielder that was included in that deal. Tottenham do seem to want to regain most, if not all, of the money they spent on Ndombele in 2019, which is in and around £65 million. Very ambitious. I never thought that was going to happen. I don't think anyone really thought we would garner that sort of fee for him, but it does look now, because of that, as though he will stay. Dan Kilpatrick said Tanguy Ndombele is now expected to stay at Spurs. The expectation is for Nuno to get him going. Sky Sports say Tanguy Ndombele will be staying at Tottenham, and Alistair Gold says, barring a huge bid for him late in the day, which is deemed unlikely, a decision has been made at board level for Tanguy Ndombele to stay at the club this season, despite some interest in him. So it looks as though this is one that has come from very, very high up the club, that they do want to hold on to Tanguy Ndombele. Again, the lack of time to really get in a replacement does play a big part in this. Now look, it is somewhat possible that this deal, there is a deal here that may be slightly advanced, and then this unnamed midfielder that Tottenham are looking for could be a replacement for Tanguy Ndombele, but there's nothing to suggest that's true, and it's merely speculation or almost conspiracy theorism at this point. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. A question there from This Is Football TV says, do you think there's any chance we can sign another striking option? And there isn't, and there's actually an update from Alistair Gold on that, and he said it's just not going to happen. There won't be a striker coming into Spurs in my laptop's freaking out here. There won't be a striker coming into Spurs. If I can just find the exact comment, he essentially said, Jack Pitbrook has said, not expecting Spurs to sign an attacking player today. Spurs have been looking for one, but since Wolves called off the Adama deal, they have struggled to find anyone else. And Alistair Gold says Tottenham are not expected to sign a new striker on transfer deadline day. Moves for Wolves, Adama or Ruben Neves are also deemed unlikely. So a few sources there saying that a striking option at this point in time is out of the window for Tottenham. And look, I don't think it's too surprising. I mean, in hindsight, those deals that we were looking at for Dusan Vlahovic and Lautaro Martinez were perhaps fail-safes if anything did go wrong with our attempts to hold on to Harry Kane. And I'd rather Harry Kane than any other striker in the world, to be honest, because he's the only one that's proven himself at Tottenham. And look, he's the best player in our team, and we're absolutely blessed to have him. And it's good that we've managed to hold on to him and to keep him. We've been saying Tanguy burnt his own bridge out with his shocking attitude, a shocking waste of talent. And look, that is a concern that we will have all throughout this season. It's a concern that I think can only really be quelled if Ndombele turns his form around to Tottenham, and you have to ask, what really is the likelihood of that? Because he is an immensely talented footballer. We've seen that in spurts on the pitch for Tottenham, when he'd get the ball and he'd roulette past 3 or 4 players, or he'd score that ridiculous goal like he did against Sheffield United. But if he doesn't do that consistently, and if his attitude isn't there in order to make that a beneficial thing for Spurs to have in their squad, well, what's the point in having him? And that's why I felt, despite my love for the player, and despite the fact that I know he can move on to a Bayern Munich or a Barcelona or Real Madrid and really go on to be an extremely, extremely good player, if not one of the best midfielders in the world, well, I don't care if that happens at another club, because it's not going to happen at Tottenham with the attitude that he has. Now, again, the reports this morning are saying that perhaps there is a feeling within Tottenham that Nuno Espirito Santo can get him going and can get that potential out of him at Spurs. But he's been here for 2 years, and twice now he's tried to go. Twice he's tried to move on, and last year it was Daniel Levy who managed to convince him to stay. I think we saw that in the Amazon documentary. And this summer it's simply because Spurs were asking for too much money. The interest wasn't there for the amount we were asking for. And it's disappointing that we do have to convince the player to stay. And Nuno Espirito Santo put it perfectly last week or the week before, where he said, it's not my job to convince players to play for Spurs. It's my job to prepare them to do so when they want to. And it looks like Ndombele will have to want to play for Tottenham. And look, even then, I don't think he goes straight into our midfield. If his attitude turns around, if whatever, I don't think he goes into that midfield. And I've said already in the stream, and I've said it a bit over the last few days, that I feel Tottenham are a bit one-dimensional. And that midfield that we have of Skip, Højbjerg and Dele Alli, for that one dimension that we have, is almost the perfect midfield. So unless we can change our system and probably get in a few more players to kind of change what's happening around the midfield at this point in time, I'm not sure Ndombele is the man to play in that midfield. Martin with the €2 super chat. Martin, thank you so much. You're an absolute legend. Says, hopefully today flies for you, Matt. CR7 is home. Look, I hope it flies. I hope it flies with a load of good news. Luke, I am live all day, midday to midnight, 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. So another 11 hours and 45 minutes to go, but we are live all day. And Martin, absolutely delighted for you and for United fans to see Ronaldo back in the Premier League. It's strengthening one of our rivals, but when one of the best players in the world moves to your league, there has to be an element of joy to see him there. Obviously, I would have preferred he joined Tottenham, but that was never going to happen. But I'm looking forward to seeing Ronaldo back on a Premier League pitch. Gogamat with the 3001 says, thank you for keeping us updated, Matt. Gogamat, thank you for your support. Thank you for the super chat, and it's my absolute pleasure to keep you updated with all the transfers. As we will be doing, like I said there, all throughout the day today. Bradley says, I think Bissouma is the mystery midfielder. I'd love if Bissouma was the mystery midfielder, but I really just can't see that happening. I can't see Brighton selling him this late in the day without any replacement there. That's if they don't have that replacement sorted yet. And look, there's so many names we mentioned. Ruben Neves and Bissouma seem to be the two main ones, but I think Bissouma is probably just a little bit out of our price range, and also out of the anything we could do realistically at this point in time. But we'll have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see. I'm hoping I'm hoping it's a good midfielder, to be honest, because as far as I know, it could be absolutely anyone. But hopefully it will be a positive one, and hopefully something materializes. Hopefully something will happen that it's not just interest or Tottenham hoping to make a move. Hopefully it does actually progress to some point. Viper says, are you positive on Adama Traore? Not one bit. Like I said, Adama Traore for me is dead in the water and will not be happening. But it's not bad news for me. I've said quite a bit that I think £40 million for Adama is just too much for a man who got 2 goals and 2 assists in 37 appearances last season. The end product isn't there. He's been incredible this season for Wolves, against Spurs and United especially. But Wolves are one of the only teams who haven't scored in the league this season. They've lost all their games by a goal to nil. That's no surprise with a player like that in their team. But look, I can understand why people do want the Adama. I do think he does offer something different to what we have already. But when there's no end product, I'm not sure that is the best option for us. But look, Emerson Royale is a deal that we are expecting to get done today. But one deal that has been done in the last week is the signing of Pape Matar Sarr from Metz on I think it's a 6-year contract, but the first of that 6 years he's gone back on loan to the French League One for the season ahead. And here is the announcement that Tottenham put out late last week to confirm the signature of the 18-year-old. So like I said, Sarr gone back out on loan to Metz for the season ahead. Of course not a player that's going to immediately improve our team, but a player who in the long term can be an absolutely fantastic signing for Spurs and can be an incredible asset for the side going forward. And is that in some way related to the departure of Moussa Sissoko? I'm not too sure, because again, Sissoko was a player in our team now who's gone. Sarr's going to be a player for the future, but I'm really, really, really excited about the signing of Pape Matar Sarr. As I've said it in a few streams and on Twitter as well, I feel like Tottenham in this rebuild are focusing on now, but we're also focusing on the future. And I think that is really important, because as much as there are problems in our squad now that do need to be addressed, and problems that I feel this summer have not been addressed, the rebuild isn't going to happen in one window. It's not going to be anything that's sorted in a short space of time. We do need 1, 2, 3, 4 years to actually properly get this done, and to really bring in players that will improve this team. And we're in this moment now where we're looking for a centre back, a right back, a midfielder, a winger, whatever it is. But we're also getting bits done for a few years down the line, if that makes sense. Like, I feel Bryan Hill is a very good player for now. He's done well in the Conference League. He looks lively. He looks good on the ball, and I think he can be a good player for us, a good rotation or squad player for us in the Premier League as well. But with the signing of him and Pape Matar Sarr, and what we tried to do with Ilaix Moriba, who was of course joined RB Leipzig, I feel like we're getting work done in advance, and we're actually dealing with the future now, as well as trying to sort things out now. And that's a very positive signing for me, and I'll be really excited to see him and watch him play for Metz in the League One this season. Let me know your thoughts about him in the live chat. Thomas says Sarr reminds me of Yaya Toure, and Fabrizio Romano said Sarr could be the next Paul Pogba. So I mean, those immediate comparisons are fantastic to hear. And look, we can't put too much pressure on the lad and say, well, he has to be the next Pogba or has to be the next Yaya Toure. Chances are he won't be that good. It'll take a lot to get him to that level. I think Tottenham are perhaps one of the best clubs to actually try and get him to that level, and to make sure he does reach the best of his ability. And sending him back out on loan to Metz this season is a positive move as well, because he's going to get more game time there. I don't for a second think he would get any game time at Tottenham if he did stay this season, but he's gone back to an environment where he has become the player that he is today. He has thrived. He is a consistent enough first team player there. And I think this is the best way to go about this deal. But I think for only €50 million, potentially rising to over 20, it's a good deal for Tottenham. And like I said, one that addresses a future issue very, very well. Ryland with a £5 super chat. Thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. Says, Aouar, Bissouma, Neves or McKennie, who would be your choice? Who would be your ideal choice, if any? It's a tough one. I think they all offer something good. Probably of that list, Aouar would be the right down at the bottom of that, because Bissouma and Neves with Premier League experience, and McKennie, a player that has a good relationship with Paratici, I think would have to be right up in that list. And you have to remember, with Weston McKennie, when Juventus signed him from Schalke last year, that was a deal that Fabio Paratici got done in 24 hours. There was no rumours out there. There was maybe slight feeling in a few places that there was interest, and all of a sudden the deal was done. So let's not rule out a move for McKennie. Let's not rule out a move for anybody at this point in time. because it is Paratici. But of that list, I would probably prefer Neves. But again, I don't expect that to happen. I don't personally think any of those players are the mystery midfielder. But we'll have to wait and see. Everyone, do let me know your thoughts in the live chat to the 640 of you that are watching right now. Between Hussein Aouar, Yves Bissouma, Ruben Neves, and Weston McKennie, which would be your ideal choice of midfielder if we were to bring one of those in today? Or if you were Paratici, which one would you try to bring in yourself? Brian Daigle, the Maddie Hayes chant, absolutely love it, Brian. Really looking forward to having you on later. Let's see, Brian will be on with us at 8 p.m. tonight. Dark Sun G with 5001 as well says, hey Matt, what do you think about Son's comment about him being the second oldest in the squad? I feel that he is the reason why Spurs are playing in sync. Well, Dark Sun G, again, thank you for that super chat. To be honest, I haven't seen that comment. I don't know what it is, but with the sales we've made this summer, at the moment Hugo Lloris is the only player in our squad aged over 30. So like I said, we're looking to the future as well as trying to fix some media problems, which is very, very good. But to be honest, Son being the second oldest player in our squad is an incredible sort of thing to think about. And we have a relatively experienced squad in a lot of positions, and the fact that they're young and experienced, well, I suppose young in the football sense, kind of below the ages of 26, 27, that's really good. And again, building for the future, and it's positive stuff from Spurs. Again, Steve, good to see you in the live chat as always. Ribsy says, well, at least Doherty can just rob us blind unregistered instead of registered where there's a terrifying threat he may actually get on the field. That is true. If Doherty isn't in that Conference League squad, it's probably a bit of a positive thing. Shane, good to see you in the live chat, says Neves for sure. Alex says Neves. Xander, Joseph, Rune all say Neves as well. Michael says Bissouma. Adam says Aouar, and Zoe says I like McKennie. Matt as well says think I take Neves, proven in the Prem, and that could be the decisive factor if Spurs are looking to bring in any midfielder today. Someone with Premier League experiences can be a game changer and can be a very, very big part of any sort of a decision that Spurs do make if they're trying to get a deal done. Zoe with the 450 super chat. Zoe, thank you very much. I massively appreciate that. With the 450, you're an absolute legend. Says 12-hour stream. Let's go, Maddie Hayes. I love that chant, Brian. You're an absolute legend for getting that chant going. But look, 12 hours. We're nearly half an hour in already. The time's flying already. Let's hope it's going to be a fun one, and let's hope it is going to be a busy one. But Zoe, thank you very much for the super chat. Brian says, I'm free all day, so if you need me at any other time, then just WhatsApp me and I'm there. But Brian, if you want to hop on for the next half an hour, you're more than welcome. But I do have guests lined up for the entire of the rest of the day, but I'm free for the next half an hour. If you do want to pop on, I believe I've already sent you the link. Carmelo with the 450 super chat. Carmelo, thank you so much. Says, reports from Sky, Arsenal agreed £19.5 million fee for Tomiyasu, and that is true. Fabrizio Romano has given the here we go on that as well. Takahiro Tomiyasu, who was earlier in this window expected to join Tottenham, is now going to join Arsenal. I believe Spurs have picked Emerson over Tomiyasu, so it's not like Arsenal have come in and pipped us to the signing, or it's not like the player has chosen Arsenal. I feel like it was just one that we pulled out of, and the player was there for Arsenal. And let's not forget, when we were going for Tomiyasu, there was talk of Arsenal being in for him as well. So it's not the biggest surprise in the world, but it has been one that Arsenal got done very, very quickly. And again, respect to them for that. They've managed to get business done this summer. It's not the best business in the world. 30 million for Aaron Ramsdale is absolutely hilarious, and I think it's just fitting that they're bottom of the Premier League table. But a good deal for Arsenal getting Tomiyasu done. As I said, I'm not going to say he was a great signing for Spurs and laugh at the thought of him signing for Arsenal, because he's a great player. I looked into him quite a bit, and I really became a fan of what he was doing for Bologna and for Japan as well. So let's see how he gets on at Arsenal. I'm trying to check this between them. Still nothing. But Brian says, I haven't got the link, can you resend it? I will send it to you now, Brian. I'll send it on WhatsApp if that's easier for you, but I think I sent it on Twitter initially. Everyone, make sure to get your comments in the live chat, your comments and your questions and everything else, and we'll get through those as well with Brian Daigle, who'll be joining us for the next half an hour. It's going to be a busy day, and look, again, not the best day for us in terms of getting 2-3 signings done. We're looking unlikely to get an attacker. Still nothing entirely concrete on a name for a midfielder, but Emerson Royale is one that looks expected to be done. If you missed the start of the stream, if you've missed it at all today, Fabrizio Romano tweeted it about 3:30 this morning. Of course, Romano, the man who never sleeps. Emerson Royale from Barcelona to Tottenham, done deal, and here we go, confirmed. €30 million add-ons included from Spurs. Paperwork was completed during the night. Official announcement today after medicals, and it's a great signing for Spurs. The feeling kind of in Barcelona and that side of the deal is kind of surprised that they've been willing to let him go. And willing to let him go for this price as well, because he's a very good player, been on loan for at Real Betis for the last 2 years, and I apologise for any background noise there. But as Euro expert, Alex is going to be on the stream a little bit later at I think 7 p.m. tonight. He put out these stats. He said 4th in La Liga for tackles per 90 last year, 10th for interceptions per 90, wins 56% of his ground duels, 63% of his aerial duels, and also top 40 in La Liga for touches in the attacking penalty box at just 22 years of age. It's some very good stats, and as a right back, being the top 40 for touches in the opposition box in La Liga is fantastic. It just goes to show the attacking threat he has, and maybe that is where we are trying to get a player who's kind of the opposite of Japhet Tanganga. If we need to play a defensive game, if we are playing a City or playing a Liverpool or something like that, where look, we don't want to be a park the bus team. That's what we're trying to move away from after last season. But if we do need to play a bit more of a defensive game, let's play Tanganga. If we want to go out and attack a team like Watford or a Norwich or a Brentford or something like that, then we can play Emerson, and it gives us another way to play in another dimension as well. Darkson G with the 2001 says how not to spend transfer money is like Arsenal, and that is one I can absolutely agree with. The top spenders in Europe at the moment, with I think it's £150 million, Arsenal. That's all you can say really. Still bottom of the Premier League without scoring a goal, with a -9 goal difference behind Norwich on goals scored. An absolute farcical club, and it's very, very fun to see. And there's a man here who I think will quite enjoy having a bit of a laugh and a bit of a dig at Arsenal. It is Brian Daigle from Tottenham on tour. He's just popped out for a second. He was there, but I'll bring him in a minute when he does come back. Darkson G with another 2001 says they spent a lot of quantities over quality. And look, that is true. I mean, they did have a weak squad, and they did need to improve that squad, and I feel like perhaps they thought there was going to be a few more players on the way out than it turned out to be. I think with the signing of Odegaard and Tavares and Lokonga, they perhaps expected a departure in that midfield, potentially in the shape of Granit Xhaka, but he's staying, which again is just absolutely hilarious. But Arsenal, I think, have done a bit of good business, but have mostly done some very, very questionable business. Brian, are you ready to hop on? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. He's not ready. We'll wait a second there to get Brian on. Matt Chase says we are one injury away from having a nightmare of a season. Need a backup striker at worst. They can. And I personally do think it could have been better to bring in some sort of an attacking option this season. But look, it's probably not going to happen. We do still have some good options going forward, and players who are better than they have been in recent seasons. So someone like a Bergwijn or a Lucas Moura have just been better, and I apologize for this right now, guys. I'm just trying to get the right mic here so Mr. Daigle can hear me. Brian, can you hear me now? I don't know if I can. Can you hear me now, Brian? Yeah. Perfect. I apologize. I had the mic set up on the other software.
Matty Hayes.
There it is.
Matty Hayes. That is becoming your here we go. It's literally, mate. First of all, let me just say what a job you're doing for us all today. What an incredible job you're doing for us today, mate. You deserve a lot of credit if you need me. So yeah, this is like Christmas to me. I never work transfer deadline day.
Oh, I love it. I'm the same. I booked this day off over a month ago just because I knew I had to do something like this for Brian. Thanks for your kind words, and thank you as well for hopping on the stream today. We have a super chat there from Paul Markey for the €5. Says Doku is available, can play midfield, wing and striker, built like Traore. We should go for him for 30 million. What are your thoughts, Brian, on it looking like we're going to miss out on a winger today?
Doesn't surprise me. We need one. I'm going to try and stay as calm as I can today with someone doing it. I think we really needed to adapt. I mean, if I look at it, the main two that we needed to sort out is a right back, which looks like we've done, and although I'm going to ruffle some feathers now because I still have a funny feeling, even though you're the man to go, I don't think this Kane saga's over. I've got a feeling. I'm not saying that he's going. I've got a feeling. I've just got a feeling that Man City may come in with a huge official bid. I'm not saying he's going, but I don't think this is over just yet. But we'll definitely get back up.
Yeah, no, I think getting someone in would be... It's probably not the biggest priority in that team, but it would be great. And a lot of people were saying after Manchester City missed out on Cristiano Ronaldo the other day that, that's €30 million they'd been expecting to spend somewhere else that could potentially be, kind of putting into a different deal. I apologize, people are saying my mic is too loud, so I'm going to quickly turn that down. But Is this your kind of Enoch out sort of thing that's just giving you this negativity, or do you think Manchester City just need a new striker and they will come back in for it?
So what I actually said is when Harry Kane said the statement, the thing I look at it is we were all saying, and you said, which was correct, Matt, that it doesn't matter what Kane wants. He's under contract, and if a bid comes in, it's down to that person to accept it or decline it. And then when Harry Kane came out with that statement, that doesn't change anything on the whole picture. It just means Harry Kane has come out with the statement. And then when Man City were getting, yeah, thought Man U may come in with like a debate all and try and get some players out. So it won't be just cash; it'll be cash and players. And then it went the other way, where Man U have gone and got him, and now Man City must be seething. Man City, we all know, need a striker. Although I'd love to be in their position and not have a striker. So I've just got a feeling this ain't dead. And the longer they leave it, it just comes down to whether someone puts in a huge bid. I'm not saying Harry Kane goes, but I'm saying I think like PSG with Real Madrid with Mbappe, I just think there's a bid just waiting to come out. But I'm praying to God. I'm literally here praying to God that this doesn't happen.
Yeah, I am as well. I'm if something does come in, and I'm going to try to turn my mic down again because it looks as though it's quite loud. So I do apologise to the viewers. I'm going to get that down now. I don't know what happened, but that should be fixed. That should be alright for you now. Yeah, look, I think Manchester City will be foolish to not try and get some sort of a striker in. I think they refused to go anywhere towards trying to get a Messi deal done. Whether or not that would have been possible is another question. But because they were confident in getting Kane, then they pulled out of Kane and they think, okay, well, we're going to get Cristiano Ronaldo now. And here they are, having missed out on Ronaldo, missed out on Kane, not even tried for Messi. And the reputation is, I wouldn't say it's damaged, but it somewhat hangs in the balance. And it's weird considering they've just bought one of the biggest English players for £100 million. It's an interesting one, but hopefully, I've never said this to you before, but I hope you're wrong because I don't want a new bid to come in. But
I pray to God. I've got to say, I've just realised Sky Sports wear yellow. It looks like you and me are going for this kind of salmon colour for transfer deadline day.
Getting that new brand, I love it. We've a super chat here from I Hate Marmite with the £1.80. Thank you so much for that. Says Sanchez is staying. Then need another centre back. Don't trust. And look, it seems as though we didn't get another centre back because Sanchez stayed, and it's not ideal. I mean, he's had a good start to the season, as has Eric Dyer, but we've been here before. We've been here so many times before where we're saying they've been good so far. Let's see how it goes, and it doesn't happen. What are your thoughts on Sanchez potentially being a first choice centre back for us this season?
I am so happy for Sanchez. I have to say, I mean, I've been one of his biggest fans. Although last season, with the way his confidence was, I was starting to go down the road with everyone else. And then when, as I call it, he did his Del Boy through the bar against Man City, I was like, right, you can't defend the indefensible. And I thought, right, he's got to go. But he's come back. I don't know if he's come back from the copper or it's Nuno has given him his confidence back. To me, and I'm going to say another bold statement today, I've been saying it all week. If you look at the first 3 games of the season that we've just played, forget everything else. For me, Davinson Sanchez has been the best centre-back in the Premier League over the 3 games. He has been outstanding. Now, we all know that history repeats itself, and we all know that there could be, that we're just waiting for it. But I've got a bit more confidence in Sanchez, and we do have a good player there. We do have a player there. It's just keeping him motivated, keeping him confident, keeping his attention. But we're all very quick to slate Dyer and Sanchez, and right now they deserve a lot of credit. But we do need, as you see with the Romero deal, I mean, it could be even Romero coming in that's giving them that kick up the Jackson to say, right, okay, I need to start playing because there's actually a genuine player here who's going to take my place, and that's it. So let's hope we can get another one of them in, and then have some real competition for places. But what's going on with Rodon, Matt? Is he going out on loan or is he?
I haven't seen or heard anything on Rodon. I think he could just be an option for us there, some sort of a squad player this season. Which look, when he came in last season, he was good without being overly good, if that makes sense. Like he came in and he kind of played as you'd expect for a new inexperienced player coming in. He had a few kind of sloppy moments. See that error now against Chelsea in the last minute where Olivier Giroud probably should have given Chelsea the victory, but he was solid, he was good, and hopefully he will be that option. But in terms of him going out today, I'd be very surprised if that does happen. The only player based on reports that the only centre back that could be on his way out today is Cameron Carter-Vickers, which is probably 3 or 4 years too late.
Listen, I think he's got a life insurance policy. I mean, that guy just does not go. We just keep giving him new contracts and giving him new contracts. I mean, we look at it. he's got to know, and surely we all know as fans, that this isn't going to work out. Whether he's going to be a player in there because we just keep bringing in defenders, he goes out on loan every single season. Yeah, I think we've just got to cut our losses here and say, okay, off you go, Cameron, all the best.
Yeah, I feel like it could end up being one of those deals like with Oliver or Sissoko that we just take a tiny fee, just say, okay, just get him off the books.
Yep.
Open up a space for someone else there, which could happen. Carmelo Borg here with the 450 super chat. Thank you so much for that, Carmelo. I do appreciate it. Says, we definitely need a second striker, a creative midfielder, and a quality right back, Emerson Royale. This has to happen today. And look, I wish it would happen today. I can't see that happening. I think at best we get a midfielder and right back. But I think what's looking likely at the moment is we get a right back and we do get Emerson. Brian, we got the Here We Go this morning from Fabrizio Romano. Emerson Royale to Tottenham for €30 million. What are your thoughts on that deal?
So yeah, I got for you it was this morning. For me, it was last night. I got it whilst he gave it whilst I was on the Youth Kids podcast on Monday evenings. So we got that. I mean, it's a right back I don't know a lot about at all, but we know I don't know anything about him at all, but I can already tell that he's better than Aurier and Doherty. Let's put it that way. So that's a success. And if we look at it, that is the main person, the main part of the jigsaw that if all Spurs fans, all right, we all want a lovely striker, a little creative midfielder, but the one we really, really needed cover for, the two main ones is this right back and then a striker. So half of the battle's done. I'm worried, not worried, but again, you watch. We had this agreed yesterday, and it will take till nearly the last minute to get done. Because do you remember when we got Lucas Moura in? So I remember it was the first transfer window that I was living in Canada, and what I remember is Lucas Moura came the day before the transfer deadline day, and he was in talks with Tottenham, and he was there. The morning I woke up, Aubameyang left Germany and went to Arsenal and signed. Giroud went to Chelsea and signed, and Batshuayi went from Chelsea to Dortmund and signed, all before Lucas Moura signed and became official. So, so there's always the deal's agreed, but now it's just the waiting time. But I do think this one, like Romero said, will be going over the line. And yeah, like I said, I don't know a lot about him, but I've been hearing good things, and not just from what you hear. I mean, I love listening to the fellow YouTubers about what they know and everything. And let's just say you are the Tottenham Hotspur YouTube's official Romero. So as Ben started, Hayes we go has become the thing. So if you, more important, what are your thoughts on him?
I'm excited. First of all, thanks. I love that Hayes we go. I absolutely love it.
But you've got two chants now, mate. You've got a chant and a fucking slogan, mate.
I do. They're building up. I'm excited with it. I think it's a good signing. He's still only 22 years of age. And I know the general feeling around Barcelona among their fan base and the kind of journalists around the club as well is that it's just kind of surprised that Barcelona have been willing to let him go. Really, and it's only last week or the week before he actually made his debut for the club, because they brought him in and he was loaned out to Real Betis for a couple of years where he did relatively well. Just some stats there I brought a second ago. He was like 4th in La Liga for tackles per 90 last year, 10th for interceptions. Wins 56% of his ground duels, 63% of his aerial duels, and he was also top 40 for touches in the opposition box last season, which as a right back just goes to show how offensive he is and how much he does like to get in that front foot. And I feel like that's something that's important for us, and having a different option to Tanganga. But we now end up in a situation where we have 7 first team fullbacks in the team, with Emerson, Tanganga, Aurier and Doherty on one side, and then
one striker,
Davis and Reguilon, and one striker, exactly, and one striker. I was only making a joke on Twitter a while ago. The 4 right backs, Gareth Southgate would have been the perfect manager for us, which is upsetting to have to say. We got a few super chats there. We got Henry Wright TV with the 180 says, "Let's get Matt to 12k." Henry, I massively appreciate that. And Henry will be joining us on here later at 4 p.m. So Henry, I'm looking forward to that. But thank you for the super chat and for the kind words. Everyone do smash that subscribe button, and let's see if we can get to 12k today. Chris Callahan as well with the $2 says, will Sanchez go to Croatia as well? I think it's very unlikely that Sanchez moves on, or that really any first team player moves on today from Spurs. But I wouldn't be entirely against it if we could get a replacement in, but I don't think that's particularly likely at the moment. We do have Bob Spurs TV in the background. Bobby, you good to come on? Can you give me a thumbs up? Yep, we're all good. Let's bring Bobby in.
Can you give me a thumbs up? Yep, we're all good. Let's bring Bobby in.
Oh, my brother.
How are you?
Yeah.
Oh, my brother.
How you doing, guys? How you doing? Just waiting now. Let's hope we get at least. Is Emerson all confirmed, Matt? Is it all?
It's not official yet, but we do have the here we go from Fabrizio Romano.
It's not official yet, but we do have the here we go from Fabrizio Romano.
Oh,
so
okay.
hopefully there's good.
But I have to ask you.
Let's hope we can get some form of.
I have to ask you. The reason I ask you, or the reason you're asking about the Romero, have you driven down to the airport to pick him up? Have you driven down to the airport to pick him up?
Emerson, yeah. I'm there. Is there a delay at the moment?
I'm not sure. I think our sound is coming back through your.
I think our sound is coming back through your.
Do you have headphones in?
Your speakers, Bobby. Do you have headphones in?
Yeah. What I'll do, give me 2 minutes, and I'll just pop onto the laptop. Give me 2 minutes, guys.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect. Thanks, Bobby.
Okay. Look at that. That's dedication from Bob Spurs at the airport, waiting to pick up players, or pick up Spurs players to take them to the airport.
Someone has to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I apologise for the sound issues that were going on there. Brian, actually, one thing I did want to ask you about, Takahiro Tomiyasu looks set to join Arsenal. How do you feel about that one? That's enough of an answer. Yep.
Joe, I mean, like I said, Tomiyasu is the one I really, again, it's a player I didn't know a lot about, but I really, really liked what I saw in him. And then obviously, we know what's happened there. He's still at the Olympics. Arsenal can't sign him. He's still at the Olympics. He's still doing stuff apparently. But this is like my worst nightmare. It's kind of like when Bale left the first time. Basically, us buying Bale, then buying Bale. Once that deal went through, Arsenal went and got Ozil. We seem to just hand them things, and we put in all the hard work and get the players on the radar, and then Arsenal come and takes our seconds. Let's just hope if he does sign for Arsenal, it works out just as well as the Ozil deal.
Fingers crossed. I think we'd all enjoy that one. We've Fabrizio Romano here in the last 10 or so minutes says everyone will say PSG had the best window, but I think Spurs did. I would like to congratulate Fabio Paratici, for me, the best at his job in the world. Also, Nuno and Daniel Levy to keep hold of Harry Kane is huge. I think we may have lost Brian there. We'll see if we can get him back in a second. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'd agree that the Tottenham have had the best transfer window. I mean, PSG have signed Ramos, Wijnaldum, Hakimi, Messi, Donnarumma. What do you make of that, Brian?
I actually saw that yesterday. What did you say? Where he said that I think he was doing the best at. I'm not going on this. He's the Don. He's got a lot of work to do. But we've got rid of Lamela. We've got rid of Sissoko. Joe Hart's gone. So there are players that are going that we have struggled to get rid of. So that's a good plus. Now, Galini, I think, is a great signing. And I think it's a very smart signing, the way we brought him in, especially with Lloris's contract, that he could go. And if he did go, everyone in the world knows you need a goalkeeper. So that's a great deal. Brian Hill, I have been impressed with. I'm not going to go over the top, but I have been very impressed with him. We all know Romero is a superstar deal. If Royale signs in, fantastic. And then you got to look at it. We're actually going to have 3 South American players in, three Spanish speakers in our defence. So there'll be a bit of that could obviously assist if Romero and Royale don't speak that good English to begin with. So that could be a huge benefit. But yeah, we'll see what happens today. But we know we needed to address the centre back area. That was an absolute have to, and we've got 50% of the way there. All right, so we've got Emerson, Davinson Sanchez, and Dyer coming in. So let's say we're 75% of the way there because of how they played at the start of the season. But we know that could change at any moment with them too. And for the first, or not for the first time, but for the 6 years, we've been crying out, we need a help with Harry Kane. We need help. We need help. We need help. And let's just hope that happens. Let's just hope that happens, because I don't know anyone in world football that has gone 6 years with one striker. I just don't know anyone that does it. Even when we had our good days, we had Berbatov, Keane, Defoe, Pavlyuchenko. You could put Crouch. There's always someone there to mix it. All right, you played a 4-4-2 back then, so it was more required. But you had options, and we've just had absolutely no options. And this needs to be taken care of now.
It does, and it's just been. It seems to be the same problem all along with us with Harry Kane, that no striker wants to come because they know they're not going to play ahead of Spurs. They're ahead of Sorry, Brian, I'm just back there. I have us off air for a second. I. I'm not sure what's going on. It just is it still running? Let's see.
And I feel weird now. So yeah, the whole striker, Ben from We Are Tottenham TV brought it up. I really wanted us to go for this guy from Celtic, who I thought would be happy to come from the Scottish League to us. But again, for the second time this window, Crystal Palace, because if you include Anderson, have got a player that in two positions that we desperately needed. So annoyed with that, but yeah, I mean, getting a replacement for Kane or backup for Kane is always going to be hard. But we need it. That's what these scouts and these people are here to pay to find these and identify these players. So let's hope a rabbit comes out of the hat, but I don't think it will.
Yeah, I was going to quickly there apologise for whatever issues I'm having here. Look, everyone knows the issues I've had with my laptop the last few days. It was fixed, but apparently it wasn't. So hopefully we can get through relatively unscathed for the rest of the day. But I do agree with what you're saying there, Brian. You know, Crystal Palace have made some great signings, and look with Joachim Anderson, it was one that for a couple of weeks we were expecting to see Tottenham get done. Yep. Somehow that's one that just completely fell apart, and it was one of those that, similar to Tommy Yasu, in that it's like, oh, it's close, it's going to happen, and there was just silence. Yep. There's nothing to say this won't be happening or this is off. And I think it's just typical Spurs transfer window, really, which we've unfortunately become very, very accustomed to.
So, Matt, a question for you. With the Tommy Yasu one, do you think, now, what entered my head over this thing was that a insurance policy if Son didn't sign? It's like, okay, we may have to sell Son, and then we're going to lose that Far East market. Okay, let's bring in someone who's from that region, got bags of potential, and bring him in so we can recapture some of that market. I mean, I'm not saying that's genuinely what it was, and that's what Daniel Levy was thinking. Wouldn't put it past him, but that deal seems to went bang as soon as Son had signed.
I don't think that would be the case. I think we were expecting Son to sign for really since last November, December. So I don't think that deal was expected to go through, and I personally don't think there's any element of kind of advertising or kind of PR in getting that deal done. I think Tommy Yasu is just a very, very good player that we would have been lucky to get into the squad. But like I say, with Daniel Levy, it's kind of hard to ever say for definite either way. But we do have Mr. Bob's River TV back here on his laptop, looking as bald as ever. Bobby, how are we?
Oh, very well, very well. You can hear me better now.
Yeah, all good. No echo.
Fantastic.
Anything. Bobby, thanks for joining us. Absolute pleasure to have you on here for the next 45 minutes or so. We'll have a few more guests joining us as well in about 10 minutes. But Bobby, the first thing I have to ask you about is Emerson Royale to Tottenham. Here we go. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, it's an upgrade, certainly. You know, Tanganga, as good as he's been, and he is our best right back at the moment at the club. We certainly need that more experience. I know not like more experience with age, but certainly another option, because it looks like Aurier. It's a bit weird how Aurier is being linked to Betis while they're getting someone else as well, aren't they? Bellerin's obviously having a medical there. Yeah, so that's a weird one. They're trying to compete with us with regards to full-backs, but yeah, I think it's good. Any player coming in from Barcelona is obviously going to be an upgrade, but yeah, disappointed with the whole Tommy Yasu thing. You know what my thoughts were with regards to Tommy Yasu? Have we signed Tommy Yasu yet? Was a regular question I've been asking within the group.
Another one of your catchphrases.
Yeah, but I didn't say he couldn't sign for us via another club, so it'll still be an ongoing question till he retires.
Bob, did you just say that Betis are going for both Aurier and Bellerin?
I believe so. I'm Betis in there as well, Matt. For Aurier?
I haven't seen anything on that yet, but look, it's possible. I know Bellerin is in Seville having that medical for Real Betis to try and get that done. But the latest on Aurier seems to be that he's kind of expected to stay, given that no move was found for him. And it was interestingly, Matt Doherty is also expected to stay.
What are their contracts out. Pay Aurier. Aurier's got 1 year, right?
I honestly don't know. Actually,
I think he's got 1 year.
Is it his last year? Yeah.
Yeah, so just do what the Filth has
afterwards.
done with Willian. Just pay him out. You don't want him. He's not going to play. If we bring in Royale, you're definitely not going to play because the 2 right backs straight away. Just go. Just take your energy and take your attitude and go.
That's the ideal scenario, Brian. But obviously, what we've got by paying people off, we are probably we're definitely lessening our transfer budget, as well as but increasing our salary budget. So it's one of those catch-22s. I mean, personally, for me, the fact that it's probably not been touted or given other clubs as an option as much as we should be doing. It's all about building now, as far as I'm concerned. I know you've spoken about Sarr and Hill. Obviously, we were brought in, and obviously Emerson's a 23-year-old. So it's all very well building for the future. But in my eyes, we've been building for the future for 20 years. It's all about the build now.
Yeah.
For me, keeping Harry Kane, bringing in a Romero, we need to kick on now. And with all due respect, I'm sure Harry Kane's not sitting there thinking, "Oh, at least we're looking great for the next 5 years." Same for all of us, I'm sure he wants to win trophies now, and we're not going to do that by buying potentials and players for the future. As greedy as it is for me, and maybe I'm living in a naive world, but I've seen a rebuild going on for 20 years, and in my eyes personally, with the likes of a Tanganga and a Romero and a Reguilon and a Skip and a Scarlett and a Hill and a Sarr and a possibly Emerson, we're looking great for the future. Forget that, put that to one side. We've got many players under the age of 25. Even Højbjerg's 26, is he? So we're great for the future, with all due respect. Let's buy. Let's buy for now, because now is the time we need to kick on. It's irrelevant. Kane staying now is absolutely irrelevant if we don't kick on. And I understand the whole transfer window is going to take a couple of transfer windows and 3 or 4 transfer windows for us to have that rebuild. Kane might not have that 3 or 4 windows. I believe he'll stay. He will stay for the 3 years if we show some ambition. And right now, it's looks like a Levy window to me. This window could have been done by Hitchin, because under Hitchin we did bring broke the record twice in a window and bring in for every Romero who brought in a Sanchez. How they turned out is all irrelevant, because that's all hindsight. The fact is the transfer, the business we've done in this window is no different to any other window we've done previously. I'm probably asking for too much. With the reputation Paratici comes in, and it's again nothing against Paratici or the premature Don title that has been given. It's the same person signing the checks, and I think that's becoming pretty evident. So wait and see, mate. We've got a few hours yet. We've got just under 12 hours. Just under 10 hours. It's a wait. It's
squeaky
a wait
bum
and see.
time.
Sorry,
we're squeaky bum time.
Yeah, squeaky bum time.
As a great manager wants to say.
And please, that's not me being negative. I'm just being observant with what we've got and my opinions on the squad right now. If we lose a Højbjerg or a Skip or a Sonny or a Kane, we're looking very, very weak at the moment, and that is my biggest concern. That is my biggest concern. But hey, at least we're building for the future, eh?
Bob, I just want to come in on that. Matt, I'd love your opinion on this. We say we're building for the future. Now, I'm looking at this. What we did under Pochettino, and we've spoke about it, when you have the deadwood that we've been trying to get out, that have been there for so long. We're signing aren't we falling into the same trap again, where these young players are going to be with the team for so long, and we won't be buying in to freshen up because we're already buying for the future. So I'm just a bit, because I completely get that. I agree with everything that Bob's saying. We're doing it again. We're buying for the future. We need for now. I don't care what their resale value is. We need someone to come in and do the job now. I'm just getting concerned that we're going to fall into that trap again. Like when we have Dyer and all the players that were there from pre-Poch or Poch time, that could be the same thing that we're going through 3, 4, 5 years' time.
Yeah. It's great buying for the future, but we need young players to come in amongst quality players, don't we? So, but yeah, it's a wait and see. It's a wait and see again. Probably this window will end up in disappointment. I'll stand by by my opinion that we need players for the now, and I'll probably rate this a 4 out of 10 if we get no one else in. But it is what it is, mate. It is what it is.
Yeah, and we have a few super chats here to get through. Gogama with the super sticker for the 4001. I think providing us a cup of coffee, which is going to be very important as we finalise the first hour of the 12-hour stream. Thanks for that, Gogama. And we've Zoe as well. The fourth season was the first where Kane didn't get injured, probably because we had Vinny to take the load off, and that is a very, very good point there. And Carlos Vinicius, I think at the moment is looking potentially to be moving on to...
We lost Matt?
He's
back there. I don't know what's going on with the connection.
You're back.
Yeah, you're back, mate. Yeah, you're back now.
But Vinicius potentially going on to PSV, which could be a good signing for them. But a backup striker, as we were saying earlier, could be very, very important. Thank you for the super chats and for the super stickers. Mr. Daigle, we're going to let you go. We'll have you back on this evening at 8 p.m. UK and Irish time. Thanks for hopping on now, and I'll talk to you again later.
You certainly will, mate. Been a pleasure.
Big up, Daigle.
See you, my friend.
See you later, mate.
See you later on.
We can bring on a few more guests now as well. First of all, we got Kieran from Let's Talk Spurs, and we got Lil White Hughes from the Come On You Spurs Coys.com podcast. Guys, absolute pleasure having you both on. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be on this
big up,
channel.
Guys, big up.
I love it. Look, I suppose we'll dive straight into things with we start with you, Kieran, with the biggest news of the day, and that is the Here We Go on Emerson Royale. What are your thoughts on that move for Spurs?
I think it's a good signing. I'd rather have him than not have him when you consider the other options we have at the moment. Yes, it will leave us with 3/4 right backs, but I'd rather have him and force either Doherty or I suppose REA, further down that line of actually playing for us in that starting 11. I think he is a decent player, one that makes a lot of tackles. And he is very good going forward. He does draw a lot of fouls as well with the pace he has on the ball going forward. So hopefully he will be a good signing for us. But we have a bad history with right backs in recent years. So even though he looks good on paper and from what I've seen in the past, I'm still concerned just because of that little feature. Yeah,
we have a bad record with right backs, and somehow at the moment we've ended up before them at the club with Sergio Aurier and Matt Doherty looking at the moment likely to stay. But Carl, Emerson Royale to Spurs, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think as Jess said there, given the options we got there at the moment, I think, let's face it, can he come in and be any worse than the two right backs we've got at the moment? And the answer to that question is no, he can't. I've not seen too much of him, to be honest. I hear some good things about him. But again, like we said, we've brought players before where you think, oh, yeah, this guy's going to come in. I mean, Doherty was one of them, wasn't he? For the money that we got him for, when we got him, you thought, well, what a great signing that could be. We're crying out for a right back now. And unfortunately, he's come in and it just hasn't worked. So I've heard, we've heard some good things. So to me, it's a good addition. As we said, some people may say we're overloaded there, but I don't consider that to be an issue, because when you consider overloading is if you've got players that you want to play in that position. To be honest with you, we haven't got a preferred right back in there right now other than Tanganga, who I don't actually see as a natural fullback. I want to see Tanganga move into the centre at some point, where I think his position is going to be in the long-term future as a centre half. So I don't want to see Aurier play again for the club, and that's no disrespect to him. I wish him well. I hope he moves on, but the guy just costs you too many goals and makes too many mistakes. Doherty just hasn't worked for us, so you're only going to use him in maybe the Europa Conference League games or cup games when you're looking to field and rest players. So for me, if he comes in, I don't see how it can be a bad move for us at all, to be honest, because he can only be better than the options we got there currently.
Yeah, I agree on that one. I think he offers a kind of a different dynamic as well. He's just more attacking than Tanganga, which is probably a better thing for us, because we can play two different right backs there in whatever kind of style we're looking to play. Sky Sports in the last couple of minutes, Paul Gilmore has said that as things stand, Emerson Royale is expected to be the only incoming for Tottenham today. He says as things stand are the three crucial words. I know it's cliched, but things can change quickly. Bobby, we'll come to you now, and we'll stick with the defence as well, because Alistair Gold said yesterday with Christian Romero and Giovanni Lo Celso moving on or going off to international duty against the wishes of the club and the Premier League. They're going to have to isolate for 2 weeks when they get back, subsequently missing the Premier League games against Crystal Palace and Chelsea. And Alistair Gold says because of that, a move, and of course any future international breaks that are coming up, a move for a centre-back, if a bargain comes up on this deadline day, has not completely been ruled out by Spurs. Do you think there's any chance of getting a centre-back in, or do you think that's kind of just a dream at the moment, that if the ideal deal comes, we can get it?
Well, we've still got Carter Vickers, haven't we? And obviously bringing in Emerson will mean that Tanganga can slot into that centre back. I totally agree with Carl, apart from a couple of things. I mean, with the utmost disrespect, that Aurier should never wear a Tottenham shirt ever again. You know, the guy walked out on my club, man. He was wearing the badge on his shirt when he walked out at half-time against Liverpool. And yeah, it's like a heart over a head, but he shouldn't have worn a shirt in my eyes since that day. But obviously, with the squad depth and everything, and he was unfortunately our best right back for a while. So no, good riddance as far as I'm concerned, and I do hope he never puts on a Spurs shirt. It's good having the numbers in defence. So, like I say, Tanganga moving into centre defence will give us another option. And joke all we want, but Carl Vickers will be there for the odd cup game, be it Europa or the European Conference or the League Cup. So, but we're in balance with regards to numbers everywhere else. Like I say, we lose a Højbjerg or a Skip. DM wise, we've got Winks. There you go. And then
Bobby, you're just killing the entire mood here. Rather than
it's a fact. I'm pointing at being observant.
Vickers and Harry Winks. Oh.
Well, there you go. And then attack. We're good out wide, obviously, with Hill, Lucas, Bergwijn, whoever else there is. Lo Celso's obviously there, give us an option. Ndombele, I don't know. I just hope Nuno's attention doesn't go. There isn't too much on him, and by not concentrating on the first team, I'm sure he won't. But Ndombele, the only person who can sort out Ndombele is himself. He shouldn't be the managers. But if Sonny and Kane get injured, we've got Scarlett. So yeah, we're a bit imbalanced numbers wise, and I've been saying that numbers wise we are absolutely lacking, and I believe we're weaker since last season, because we had a Bale, we had a Vinicius, and this isn't me saying we should have kept Vinicius. I didn't rate him as a player, but we had a person who could come on. We had a number in the squad who could come on and give him that striking option, which we don't have this season. And if anyone turns around and says we've got Scarlett, you know, I'd put up a bit of an argument with regards to that. We need that a Llorente. We need that certain individual on the bench as an attacking option. And in midfield, yeah, we've got an Ali, we've got a Lo Celso. It's the DMs that really concern me. If we lose a Skip or Højbjerg, we've got Winks. So, that was the main thing for me, a centre midfield and a striking option that we really hope within the next how many hours, 10 hours or so, we manage to bring in. Fingers crossed. If not, like I say, it's a 4 out of 10 transfer window for me. If Emerson's going to be the only person coming in, then for me it's a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, look, I think there is definitely reason to be disappointed, because with the kind of priorities within that squad that we were told we had that have been we failed to kind of get done. Marx is there in the live chat. Matt playing Candy Crush in the background. I'm actually trying to get more guests sorted out, and I'm trying to figure out who that mystery midfielder is. So there's no Candy Crush going on here. It's all important work. But Kieran, how do you expect to see Tottenham's defence shape up this season with the signing of Emerson and of course these complexities, I suppose, with Romero and international duty and all that?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a weird situation, because obviously Tanganga's played very well, but you'd expect with Emerson coming in, he's most likely going to come in and be that starting right back. So I wonder if maybe Tanganga would be shifted more centrally for games, I suppose, where we're going to have a lot more of the ball, because Emerson is that more attacking fullback, and I suppose maybe against your bigger teams, maybe Tanganga, if we're expected to have less of the ball be there. But I'm really not sure who's going to start, whether it'll just be a battle for that spot or not, or how Nuno... We
keep on forgetting about Roden as well, Kieran, don't we? We keep forgetting about Roden.
Well, that's the thing. So I'm just trying to think, like, yeah, look, we've got Rodon to come back, then Tanganga to shift in. That's two options that aren't being utilised yet. Romero's not even been included in the starting 11 at centre-back yet. It doesn't look like we're ever going to play a back five based off what we've seen so far under Nuno. So whether it's just going to be a straight battle at right back for that starting spot or not, I suppose, remains to be seen. But I'd say Tanganga might shift in for 1 or 2 games or fill in there maybe in a cup game or something where we don't want to put in some of our starting centre-backs in those games or Conference League.
Yeah, well, look, I think the defence is going to be a debate that we'll be having all throughout the season. Like I was saying with Brian earlier on in the stream, you have Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez who've started well this season. And I apologise for more background noise there, but they've started well, but we've been here before and it just hasn't worked. They go 4, 5, 6 games playing well and things kind of fall apart there. But look, Tongi Ndombele, Carl, is looking expected to stay at the moment. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he is a kind of a strange character to try and work out, isn't it, at the moment, what's going on with Ndombele. We haven't got what we thought we were getting. We're massively disappointed for the money that we put out and the player we were expecting we were getting hasn't happened. You've got to question the player himself because you've had 4 managers now that come in, look at him, don't fancy him, clearly don't see enough of a work ethic in that player who wants to kind of fight for the shirt, put in a shift. And 4 managers, one manager, if Jose had just put him to one side, you could say, well, Jose clearly had an issue with him. But 4 managers having issues and not wanting to stick with him, that clearly shows you there is something behind the scenes with that player where he isn't showing it in training and putting the right application in. The fact that he hasn't gone, I actually thought he would be the one that would go. And if you were looking to kind of raise funds to be able to go and buy elsewhere, I thought, well, he's the perfect player right now. Even if you only get 35 to 40 million for him, you're going to take a loss because it hasn't worked out. So you're not going to get bigger money than what we paid. But we might have to accept, cut your losses, get the 35, 40 million, invest that wisely and well, and everyone moves on and is happy. If he stays, my worry about the guy is if he hasn't shown the kind of personality and desire to get himself in a team now, what's going to happen when he hasn't got his moved? I just see a player there that's probably going to sulk more, not put the application in, and then you've now got big money and big wages just sitting there not doing anything, because I don't see him being the sort of guy who's going to say, right, I need to knuckle down now, get my head down, get myself back in this team and prove that I'm the player everyone thinks I am. We've seen it. We know there is a player in there, but unfortunately you can't have a player who does it for 5 minutes every game and then suddenly, he does that once every 3 or 4 weeks. You've got to have consistency. He isn't consistent. I think we've seen Nuno, the fact that, for me, the biggest worrying sign was when Nuno said a pre-season game wasn't the right moment to bring him in through fitness. Pre-season is the ultimate time to give someone minutes for fitness. That is what pre-season is for. So if you don't trust the guy in that scenario, you don't trust him at all. And you certainly ain't going to throw him in Premier League games or games that matter. If he stays, then I just see a guy who's going to... It'd be one of them situations you get a guy who's in the under-23s training until the January transfer window, and then you're just going to see if you can get rid of him at that point. But we're probably going to have to take a bit of a hit on this one because I can't see it working out. I've no doubt we could get rid of him and he'll come back to haunt us at some point. In a year's time or something, we'll be looking and going, is this the guy we had at our club? Because look at him now, he's running it. He's running things. But I clearly think probably France is probably where he wants to go, PSG, somewhere like that. But they don't look interested at the moment, do they? So I can't see him going. And I think we're just going to have to try and make the best with him there until January. But I don't see him being in the squad. I don't think Nuno fancies him.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you say, Carl. And there's a point you brought up there that I want to put to Bobby in a second. But first of all, Dan THFC has rated us. So Dan, thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. We have a super chat as well from Dean with the £5. Says, this rebuild is going to take 4 or 5 windows. The next summer window will be the important one with how we spend the Kane money. Be patient. Come on, you Spurs. And like I've been saying all along, it is going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 years to actually get this stuff sorted out. But it's about getting a good platform to start on that one there, which is important. But Dean, thank you for the super chat. And I agree with what you've said there. Bobby, Carl said there about Dembele, a lot of money, a lot of wages, just sitting on the bench doing nothing. That for me is the biggest concern that Spurs have at the moment, because if you have a player like him, we want to regain the money we spent on him, which is upwards of £60 million, which we couldn't get done this summer. If he sits on the bench for another year, that value could even halve. It could go down to something minimal. Do you think we're now in a situation where Nuno Espirito Santo is going to be forced, whether it's from his own accord or from the board, to actually play in Dembele and force him into that side in order to keep his value high, to protect Tottenham's financial interests in the next year or two?
I hope not. I mean, there's every chance that he might not even make the bench. The way he's going, I don't think he'll be part of the squad. If you can't make a friendly squad after being 6 weeks in training, not going to the Euros, I don't see how he can make the bench of a Premier League team, especially with the fixtures we've got coming up. You'd like to think Nuno's got a bit more about him, but then obviously we've got the financial aspect that's gonna it's going to take a massive hit on Ndombele's price. Do we put it down to one of those things that we are going to have to cut our losses regardless of how much he cost? I think we will, but Nuno doesn't come across the sort of manager, if the hierarchy were to go to him and say, you know what, mate, we're losing money on this Ndombele, can you please play him? I like to think, I imagine what his answer would be. No, I hope not, mate. It comes one of those. Everything's a hindsight. No one bought Ndombele thinking he's going to turn out the way he has. One of his friends has left. One of his friends isn't going to be part of the team, hopefully. He just needs to... The guy's got everything. It's such a shame. The guy can be one of the best midfielders in the world, ability-wise. And I say it's up here. It's all up here, and someone needs to tap into that. We have bought a psychologist recently, or someone who deals with mental health problems or issues. I don't know if it's something like that, mate, but the guy can be the best midfielder in the world, and someone needs to tell him that and convince him of he can be that, and I think then we will see. But for me, at this time of moment where we stand, he is a lost cause, which is so sad to say.
It is. It's really upsetting, and I agree with what both of you said there, that he does have the potential to go on and be an incredible player and come back and haunt us in the future. First of all, we have Danny Kiriakou with the £5 super chat, says over 750 people watching. Please smash that like for the Tottenham transfer goat and Bob. Danny, thank you for that super chat. I do appreciate it. And everyone, do make sure to hit that like button. We are currently on 286 likes, so let's get that up to 350 as quickly as we can. And Kieran, what I want to ask you about Ndombele is, like the two of the lads said, and like I fully agree, he does have the potential to be one of the best in the world. He is an insanely talented footballer, but the attitude isn't there. He's not in the right mindset to play for Tottenham. Is there any point in trying to get that out of him, or should we just cut our losses?
I suppose there's a chance of trying to get it out of him until January, because I don't see us offloading him this window. So if you're not going to offload him, I suppose you've got a period of time where you try and make it work. If it's not working by January, then it's just a case of cut our losses, because yes, he does have the potential to be the best. And I think it's similar to Ali with some of the fans, where some fans are going, well, no, we know he can be this good, just trust him. And the other fans are just going, how long do you want to give this guy? Yes, we know he has it, but how long do you want to hold this? And people talk about Kane in the transfer window in the summer. Opposition fans and journalists saying he's a depreciating asset in terms of value. I think the longer Ndombele doesn't break into this team and really kick on, he is our biggest depreciating asset, not Kane. When you consider what we've paid for him and how actual little game time he's getting against Passos to Ferreira, we played Niall John instead of him. If he's not getting into those teams, and you look at the comments Nuno's made about, I don't want to convince people to play for Tottenham. People should want to play for Tottenham, play for that badge regardless. I don't need to convince them of that. I don't think he will get as much game time, so I think it's on himself until January. And if not, then I think that's probably when we'll continue to try and shift him off. And look, if he managed to break into first team and he's doing well, of course I'd want to keep him. But at this moment in time, it's probably better we just try and get someone else of quality who can do, what we need in that middle of the park, rather than hoping that something pays off, only for it to potentially never happen.
But so it's about being decisive sometimes, isn't it? And the one thing you could label Spurs as not being sometimes in the past is decisive. You know, Eric Lamela. How long did we keep Eric Lamela and keep trying with him? Funnily enough, the year that he actually moved on was probably the year where he was having his best spell as a Spurs player and coming on and being effective. But that was after we could have cut our losses much earlier than that. Yeah. You know, we've had lots of players in and around the squad where you're going, well, unfortunately, this guy just isn't going to cut it or move you on to the next level. But one of the other big problems you've got is when a chairman still wants to try and get the same money you've paid for that guy back in a transfer fee when it's clear it hasn't worked out, you have a problem because clubs say, well, listen, you want to try and charge me 30 million for this guy, but you've had him 4 years now. He's barely played through injuries and he's clearly, it hasn't worked. So why do you think I'm going to give you 30 million for a bloke now when you need to shift him off the books? But he's been stubborn, hasn't he? He's not wanted to crack. Unfortunately, you do have to sometimes be decisive and say, it's not working. Let's get the money off the books. Even if it means we take a 15 million cut, let's just get rid of it earlier than sitting there and, we say, having a depreciating asset in the squad. And also one that after time, can have negative effects on the squad if they're in and around them at the training centre and stuff like that. So you just have to be decisive sometimes. Say, no, cut our losses, move him on, and then we can reinvest and let's bring someone in who might actually be able to help contribute to the squad. And, because we need things to be happening now. The fact where we've slipped down from where we were at one point as a club, we don't have time to hang around because if you stand still in football, you're going backwards. We need to get the club moving back towards the top 4 positions and eventually, hopefully, again, back into title challenges. But if you keep messing around with players that are not going to cut it, you're not going to get there.
Well, that's the thing, especially when you're talking he's like the second highest paid player at the club currently behind Kane as well. When you're considering your second highest player isn't even playing, isn't getting minutes on the pitch, 200 grand a week, it is massive money to not be utilised. And if you're not utilising it, you may as well get that money off your books and maybe put that 200,000 a week and whatever sum of money you're getting, plus a little bit extra out of your budget to maybe get someone that's got talent, but has maybe got that extra little bit of mental, capacity to push themselves and really push up this team forward. Because I think we need someone creative, and Ndombele can be that person. But like Bob said, it's all on him. It's up to him to really make it work.
Yeah, I agree with you guys there. I just wanted to move on to some other midfielders right now because there's some news on potential outgoings and potential incomings, and it's not really great news. But Newcastle are apparently interested in signing Oliver Skipp today, but they are also now in talks with Leicester to sign Hamza Chowdhury on loan. A lot of people are talking about bringing in Ruben Neves potentially. However, Wolves' move for Renato Sanchez now looks unlikely to be concluded, and they have now agreed a deal with Sheffield United to loan out Morgan Gibbs-White. So, Bundes just there asking, Tapi asking any news on Neves. It's looking unlikely. As unlikely as it was now, it's getting more and more unlikely. But Bobby, we'll come to you in that one. Newcastle want Skipp. How loudly can we tell them to leave us alone?
Yeah, very loudly. I think it's Levy just needs to do the whole not answer the phone again. There's no way. No way. Skippy goes, we are left with Højbjerg and Winks for the rest of the season in midfield. There's talks of Lo Celso obviously fitting into that. He's not as defensive minded and as good as Skipp in that position. We've only seen Skipp for 3 games, so no, there's absolutely no chance of that. Then again, I thought we'd get Tommy Arsu in, so we just don't know. But no, midfielder-wise, thing is, the biggest frustration is Ndombele going, selling, and wages, like Kieran's mentioned, would easily be able to allow us to get another midfielder in. 30 million plus his wages off the budget. We could easily bring a midfielder in, a Basuma or whoever. I know that's very unlikely, but no, we need midfielders in. We can't afford to let anyone out, especially someone like Skipp, who's going to play a very prominent role this season in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree. I think He's been one of the standout players from the season so far, I'd say, in terms of being better than we expected him to be. Paul Markey with the €2 super chat says Bruce must be on something. Well, if he thinks he can get Skip, he's definitely on something, and it's more than cabbage, I can tell you that much. Carl, on Dele Alli, he's a player who's been revitalised under Nuno in the opening games of this season, and again, I'd make the same point that I did for Dyer and Sanchez, and that we've been here before. He was the same at the start of Mourinho. He's been in this position, but what are your thoughts on Dele Alli being a first team player for us this season?
Yeah, well, what we've seen is positive, isn't it? You know, so far the comeback from the season, he looked like he wanted to get himself in shape pre-season, has come back strong, seems to have a little bit of that desire back. You know, he's putting the shifts in. We're seeing the distances he's covering during in games, and that wasn't something that we were seeing before. I think obviously the whole situation with Jose, it was clear, you know, we saw from the documentary, Jose just didn't fancy him after seeing him for a few times, you know, told him he wasn't a good trainer and stuff like that. He'd get 20 minutes here and there. And even when he got Europa games and did well, he wasn't even in the squad sometimes for the next Premier League game. So I think Dele knew he was onto a loser at that point. But it's just a case of, well, I need to sit this out. If this guy goes, I've got a future. If Jose was still here, Dele would probably have moved on in the summer. We've just got to hope we can get Dele back to that player that he was, you know, when he first broke into the team, you know, making those late runs, scoring goals, which is what he did against Wolves, you know, the run into the box for the penalty. That was, you know, that was prime Dele Alli, wasn't it? You know, perfectly timed run, good ball. That's what we need to see a little bit more of. I think he's learned to try and cut out the silly stuff during games from what we've seen at the beginning of the season. You know, the flick sometimes when there's no need. He seems to be a little bit more assured with what he's doing and not trying so much of that stuff. So it's all positive. Again, like you say, the key bit here is whether he can continue that for the whole season. You know, while we're on a high at the moment, it's great, and no one's too fussed. If suddenly things turn a little bit sour and results don't come and he's not scoring goals, then it'll be interesting to see how things go there. Do people start trying to get on his back again if performances are not there? I think this is just one of them. All you can do is wait and see. But say the early signs under Nuno look good. And Nuno, again, as we're saying, he didn't fancy Ndombele, so he didn't play him. So I don't think he's a manager that would have suffered it. If he'd come in and thought he'd seen a player that wasn't going to put the shift in or do what he needed from him, he wouldn't have been in the squad either, to be honest. So you can only assume Nuno's been impressed. He's been good. There's still more to come. I still think we need to see a bit more. You know, let's say the goals need to come again, because if there's no goals there, then you do start to think, well, okay, it's great you're there and now you're putting the distance in, but we need more contribution from that position. Then that will be interesting to see how we go. But if we don't bring another midfielder in, Dele, I think, is going to become one of your key players this season, because you won't have no one there that you can kind of put in there to do that job. He is your next natural goal scorer in that squad in terms of midfielders. So we need him to find that form again. But let's hope. It's been a good start, and let's hope that can continue. And he's got that momentum now to push forward.
Yeah, and it is. It's a strange situation that we're in now compared to where we were last season, where we're saying that there's hope around Dele Alli now and that he is looking to be potentially a key player for us this season. And Kieran, it is in a very different position to where we've seen him in the past. And as Carl mentioned there, you know, there is the potential for him to maybe refine that goal scoring form. Do you expect him to do that, or do you think he is kind of adapting as he gets a little bit older and could become more of a box-to-box midfielder for us in the long term?
Do you know what I've felt for the past while now, especially when we've kind of seen him in odd cameos over the past few seasons, and it's not, I suppose, not worked out in those seasons for him. I've always felt that the way he is going to get back into this team is by adapting himself to becoming a different player to what he was. I think over time, he'll probably become more of, I suppose, that box-to-box, that player who's making that kind of late arrival on the edge of the box. Because I do think we are lacking creativity in the middle, higher up the pitch. And I think eventually, maybe I don't think this window, but I think eventually over the next season or so, we will probably bring in someone else for that. And I suppose that will probably see him pushed back a little bit further, back into that kind of box-to-box role, is what I see. But yeah, look, definitely an improvement from what we've seen the past few seasons, whether you can keep that going or not, because in the summer, I suppose there was a lot of judgment with the posts that he was making about, wanting to come back, physically stronger and fitter, because we've seen it in previous seasons from him. But look, it looks good because I suppose so far he has held up to his word, and hopefully he continues to do that. And like Lily Whiteview said, hopefully he can just continue to, I suppose, churn up the gears and continue to get better and better throughout the season.
I think Ali is one of those players, isn't he? When we look back at when he was having his great moments, when we had Emerson in the side, and you could have a player who could find those runs going into the box. And unfortunately, Dele now has tried to drop back to be that creative player. And it's just not been funny. It's just not his game. Yeah. He can move the ball on, move it quickly, but he needs to be the runner, and he needs someone who's going to be able to find him in those positions. The perfect example, one of the best goals you still see, is the Chelsea semi-final goal. Emerson picks it up deep. He knows Ali's going to make that run into the box, and the ball in and the finish was sublime. That's Ali's strengths. He needs someone behind him who's going to create and know, right, you're going to make a run. I'm going to find you with this ball into the box. I think Dele's tried to drop back and think, well, I'll take some of that responsibility on being creative now. Unfortunately, it's just not his strength for me. He'll be a good box-to-box player eventually, where he can just keep the ball ticking over. But we need a creative player in there that can find those runs and get him back to that scoring and get those goals up and assists up again.
Yeah, well, like you said, I suppose even Nuno said they found that he has that just ability to keep running, and I suppose we saw that in the City game, that there is that fitness there, potentially, and going forward, that he can maybe be that box-to-box that just does a lot of running. And like you said, usually before it was Kane would drop a little bit closer. So I suppose our defence, there'd be that gap in behind. Emerson would play the ball in behind, or someone would play that ball in behind for Ali making that kind of third man run into the space that's there. But we don't really have that creator now. So like you said, there isn't always that third man run or someone who can pick out that pass if he makes that run. So yeah, I think that him playing like he used to for us and the way he got goals for us, I don't think is as viable as it once was. I think he has had to adapt his role in the team and how he gets his chances. Yeah.
Well, look, I agree in that, but Bobby does need to head off. He's been on for the last 45 minutes, Bobby. I really, really do appreciate you popping on today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your deadline day.
Yeah, come on, Spurs. Let's try and get someone. It does look like Emerson's going to be the only signing, but of course, you never know. You never know. But onwards and upwards. Come on, you Spurs.
Okay, on you Spurs. Cheers, Bobby. We do have a little bit of breaking news, and it's not the biggest in the world, but it is big enough to play our little graphic. There are multiple reports coming out in the last 10 or 15 minutes that Newcastle are in talks to sign Cameron Carter-Vickers from Tottenham. As we've said a few times in the stream, if he does go, it's 3 or 4 years too late. I don't know how he's still a Spurs player, but he's managed to overcome that ankle injury he picked up in the first leg against Paços de Ferreira, and it looks as though he could be on the way out. I haven't seen anything to suggest whether it is a loan or a permanent deal, but I hope to God it's permanent. Kieran, we'll come to you first on that. He just needs to go, doesn't he?
Matt, you had me bloody scared for a second. When you said Newcastle, I thought you were going to say Skip. I was about to cry. But yeah, no, it's a few years too late. It's a few years too late. Well, I say a few. Whether he should have come to the club in the first place is questionable, because he's never actually broken into our first team. He's just been that player that's constantly been on loan. He's come back into squad this season in the Conference League, and he's just not looked good at all. Look, I think he's one that just needs to go. And like you said, it's just too late, but it needs to happen anyway.
Carl, do you think this has to be a permanent deal, or is a loan in any way beneficial to Spurs?
I guess the only thing that you could sit there and think for loans, I mean, I was surprised when I found out he was still only 23. Because I put a tweet out saying, it feels like he's been on loan for about the last 20 seasons. So the fact that the guy is still only 23 years of age, I was actually shocked. But the only thing that might be working out for the club is loan fees. They might actually be making some reasonable money from loan fees for Cameron Carter-Vickers, because he's always getting a loan. And there must be some fee, there'll be a fee involved in that loan. So they probably thought it was working out for them. But, again, this is one of them, isn't it? Like, why do the guy clearly doesn't feature in the plans of anyone for first team football. I don't see a first team football player in there, if I'm honest, at Premier League level, Championship, League One, round that mark. He'd probably be one of those players who's always in one of the promoted sides. But then, the following season, they need to get someone of better quality. A permanent move would probably be good for him. Somewhere he can find a home, get himself some regular first team football, and make that career for himself. Because it can't be great for him, can it? Every season, do a pre-season, then off out on loan somewhere, moving around constantly. That can't be great for a player to settle and get his career going. So, best of luck to him. I'm sure, nothing against the guy. When he's come in, unfortunately, he's tried to do a job. It's just, he's just not up to the level that we probably need. So, a permanent loan would make sense, or a permanent move would make sense. I just wonder whether, Newcastle saying they want him. I can't see how he improves them, if I'm honest enough, that makes them think that's a worthy signing for them. But, if there's some good money involved, then great for us.
Yeah, no, I agree in that. It's a good point you made about the loan fees, and us potentially having made a bit of money off him in the past, and I'm sure, of course, some of his wages would have been covered during that time as well. But like we say, just getting him off those books is a good move for Spurs nonetheless. We have a super chat there from Gogama for the 4,001, giving us some snacks for the energy. I appreciate that, Gogama. Thank you so much. You're an absolute legend and a huge supporter of the channel. From the midfield, I want to look at the wider areas of that front line at the moment, and Kieran Adama is one player that has been, really for the last week and a half since we actually played Wolves, has been one of the names mentioned most for Tottenham. But for £40 million, it looks as though we've just been priced out of a deal. Do you think that was one that we should have really pushed for, or is it maybe a blessing in disguise that it hasn't materialised?
It's a bit of a weird one, because I think, would you take an extra player in the wide area? I suppose like him, if you offered it. I think most of us would take it, but I suppose when you consider the fee, 30 million, some people were arguing, is it worth it, is it not? There was a lot of debate online about it. When you start talking 40 and even 50 million, I've seen it rumoured this morning as well, you just kind of start feeling, is it just a bit too much for someone, especially when we're thinking, if he comes into this Tottenham team, he creates goals for Kane and Son, just his presence, for 40, 50 million, are we hoping that he's going to do that for us when it might not work out that way? I think at that point it starts getting a bit of a not worth it signing. At 30 million, it might have been worth a punt, but the fee keeps going up, and I think just more unlikely and less worth it.
Yeah, we do have a super chat here as well from Brian for the $20. It says, just to say a huge thank you for doing this mammoth stream for us all. Let's get Matt to 12k. Also, let's get the biggest Matty Hayes thread going on in the chat to say thank you. Brian, thank you so much for that. You are an absolute legend. I do greatly appreciate that. Everyone, do make sure to go over and check out Tottenham on Tour for Brian as well. He will, of course, be back on this channel a little bit later as well. But do subscribe here as well if you haven't already, and let's see if we can get to 12k today. Carl, what are your thoughts on the Adama Traore saga?
Yeah, the real interesting one, isn't it? I think, as Kieran said there, when you start talking 40, 45 million, I'm afraid I go, well, listen, a bit like with the Wilfried Zaha stuff a few seasons ago when Palace were trying to look to get 80 million, you're sitting there going, nah, listen, this is no Gareth Bale we're trying to sign here. This is Wilfried Zaha, who's inconsistent, doesn't do it regularly. Yes, and he's on his day, he can be great. And I think Traore is the same. If you were talking 25, 30, this guy could just cause enough problems. He looks great. When he's on fire, he looks great. But it's the end product that's the real worry, isn't it? And it's the end product that makes you go 40 to 45 million. Not for me. I can see how he causes problems. He causes chaos. We saw it again at the weekend with United. They were so concerned about him when they got the ball. He'll open up space elsewhere on the pitch because you'll naturally get 2 to 3 players gravitate to him to try and stop him getting that run. That's great. But again, that's only if that's a 25, 30 mil fee, you can kind of think, yeah, okay, we'll take the risk here. At higher fees, I just don't think the output from the guy makes it a viable transfer, and one that you think, I'm not going to waste that larger chunk of money when we've got other priority positions in there. I would like to see him, play for us because he's an exciting player. He does make things happen, and that pace is scary. But it's all well and good having pace, but if we've seen in previous games against us at Molineux, he's torn us apart, but then he's cost them the game because he hasn't been able to finish like this season, the one-on-one with Lloris. And that's the problem, it's great, but there's no end product and not enough end product. And that has been his career so far all the way through. Every season, he's not really getting the numbers that make you think, oh, yeah, well, he's worth a punt at that money. So for me, if it was 25, 30, I'd say, yeah, let's go. Because this could be, he could open up things for other players in the squad, but I'm not going to waste that sort of money on him, unfortunately. I think, and I don't think anyone will touch him at that money, to be honest.
That's what I was just going to ask if I could add, because I think for 30 million, you're kind of going, well, who else can you kind of get for 30 million that, kind of slots into the first team, maybe has a big impact? But as soon as you start pushing 40, 50 million, you start thinking, well, maybe you could get some Maximin for that. Maybe you could get Sarr from Watford from that, who are also very young and players who have already scored goals, in the Premier League and proven that they can cause problems. You start thinking, well, would it not be better to maybe go for one of those players? And like I said, I think most Premier League clubs for that type of money would start looking at other players if they're quoted that by Wolves.
Yeah, and for me, it is the end product it's probably one of the biggest factors that we need to look into this, because we're looking for a player who could potentially replace the goals of Gareth Bale last season. I know he didn't play very often, but he had 17, 18 goals in all competitions, something like 12 in the Premier League. We need to replace that. And Adama Traore isn't the man who's going to do that, because you can look towards his assists and say, well, he may have struggled in that department last year because of the injury to Raul Jimenez. They're playing Fabio Silva up top, who is inexperienced. He's not a very good Premier League player. He's really young still. So the goals from him maybe would have been minimal. But then, why wasn't he scoring goals? And again, this background noise, I really do apologise, but why wasn't he scoring goals? He'd only 2 goals in 37 appearances last season. The end product just isn't there, and that is the upsetting thing. And if we did go out and offer 60, 70 million for Martinez, and we're offering 40 for Traore, why not go that extra 10, 20 million, as you said, and get a better player who you can trust to put the ball in the back of the net? But I agree with what you say, Carl, that he is a very exciting player, and it would be fun to see him play at Spurs, but if the ball was going to the back of the net, it's only a matter of time before that becomes just extremely frustrating. Because you forget, Wolves have, if I remember correctly, lost their 3 games 1-0 this season. And yes, he's been their best player. He's been incredibly exciting. He can take players on as if they're not even there. But what's the point if you go in 1-on-1 with Lloris and just pass the ball to him? It's you just got to look at the end product of it.
This is a thing as well, Matt. It's not like, okay, well, he scored 2 goals, but he's just not getting any chances or not taking shots. I think I was looking at stats when we were originally linked with him, and it works out per goal. I think it's something like over 12 shots per goal he scores. So when he's considering someone's taken 12 shots to end up scoring 1, it feels a little bit wasteful. And you just feel like you could get someone who's doing a lot better than that. 12 shots to maybe convert 1 is pretty poor, especially when you consider he is the player who's beating defenders and getting beyond them when he's getting chances. It's not like he's taking punts from 40 yards out like maybe a defensive midfielder is, long shots that you're not expected to score. He's someone who's driving the defenders in and around the box, cutting in or going in behind and getting his chances. So you expect a little bit better conversion rate than that.
And his problem as well is he would just be the same type of winger we've already got now in the likes of Bergwijn and that, where it's like, yes, there's pace there, but you're going to end up being costed in vital games where the guy just doesn't put the ball in the back of the net when we need him to. We may have games where you just get 1 or 2 chances and you need to be clinical with them 1 or 2 chances. And unfortunately, he just fits into the same sort of winger we've got at the moment with Mora and Bergwijn, where it's just too inconsistent and not vital enough and good enough in those key moments to finish off chances.
Yeah, I agree.
Missing out on Adama Traore, like I think we're saying there, isn't the worst thing in the world. But Kieran, to come to you first, do you think not getting a winger at all is a problem for Spurs, or do you think it's an area that perhaps shouldn't have been a priority?
I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one because I think we still need a backup striker. I think we still need a creative player centrally. Maybe even now with Sissoko gone, someone. I suppose. Look, we signed Sarr, but he won't be with us till next season. So I suppose maybe even someone as a backup central player. to kind of replace Sissoko. So there is like a few positions that we kind of need extra strength. I suppose wide we already have players, so it's not necessarily one that we look at and say, well, we need a player in that position. But is it something more down to preference and whoever we've been linked with rather than just get someone through the door?
Do you agree with that, Kyle?
Yeah, definitely. You know, we've got to make the right signings, haven't you? You know, you can only go out and get luxury players at times if you're a team like Man City, where money's not really an object, and you can go and buy the luxury player and then fill the 2 or 3 positions you need around it. When we're talking, we're a side that, you know, we are going to have to pick and choose our signings because the money's not going to be there. Then you need to prioritise the positions that need filling, and yeah. You know, it would just be one of them signings. If you had an endless pot of money, you go, yeah, go and get him, add another number. Why not? But right now, it just wouldn't make sense.
Perfect. I think there's a bit of a debate going on in this Spurs fan base about that at the moment. But I think you both make good points there. Before I do let you go, guys, I want to do an interesting thing here. We start with you, Kieran. I want you to pick one deal that's happened in the transfer window this summer that you wish Tottenham had moved for, maybe a bargain that another Premier League team has picked up or something like that, and then another player within our squad that you'd wish we'd tried a little bit harder to get rid of.
I would say Buendia to Villa. I think maybe he hasn't shown yet, but like I said, I feel like we need that creative player, but he's also someone that can get goals. He is probably, I suppose, one of those creative players that plays a little bit wider usually, but he can play centre